So, Hamish Knox is someone that I actually was a guest on his podcast, and we just hit it off. And he's this brilliant entrepreneur and business owner in Calgary, Canada. And we just like each other. We vibe with each other's energy, so much so that I was like, man, I really want to have you on the podcast. He has a really fascinating story that he shares about his journey to finding what he's doing now with his business. And he's a sales trainer. So we talk about sales training, the good, the bad, the ugly of what that looks like. He's someone that I see as a person and not a sales trainer. And I'll tell you, I don't always feel that way with sales trainers. So I really appreciate our conversation. I really love what he has to bring to the table. Let's get into it. We do these, like, it's super chill, man. So I hope you're down for that.
I'm very, very down for that. Very down for that.
Awesome, man. What's new, man? How was your weekend? How are things?
Things are great. So my eldest daughter turned 11 on May 20, and her birthday party was last Friday. So went to indoor trampoline park with a bunch of her friends from school, and I got out on my roller skis for the first time on Sunday. Did about 5 miles. That was a lot of fun.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
So
so you've got an 11-year-old and
11 and 8.
Kids? 11 and 8. Both girls?
Yeah, both girls.
Wow. All right, man.
Yeah.
Well,
got the 8-year-old on wait list for University of Calgary swim team tryouts because they have a club. They have a club team.
Wow.
So we're one of the top teams in Canada, not just Western Canada, but they're one of the top clubs in Canada. So
wow.
Hopeful that she can get in. They do a 4-day camp at the start of September for her age group, and from there they pick the kids they want to take to the club side.
Wow. All right.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, she's super pumped about it. So I'm super excited for her. I've actually been talking about this for 4 years, and yes, COVID kind of carved out a little bit of no pool time, but ever since she's been 4, her instructors at the rec center where we took her initially were like, you should join this class when you're 6. And I'm like, so she needs to literally tread water for 2 years? Like, what do you mean, like, join this when you're 6? If she's good enough, like, put her in there. And They have rules. So anyways.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Man.
So lots of good stuff.
Yeah, that's great. Well, dude, so when did you start Full Funnel Podcast, like Full Funnel Freedom? When did you start it? Why did you start it? Like, give me the lowdown on the podcast, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be 2 years ago, October 2nd this year. So first Monday of October, 2 years ago. Thank you. Just recorded episode 100, which I'm really pumped about. It'll be out in July. So Full Funnel Freedom was something that I created in August of 2018. It was a little 250 word article on my LinkedIn profile. It got a ton of engagement. And so my colleague Nisha, who runs marketing for me, she's like, hey, maybe we turn this into a video series, like for the next year when we're doing our annual planning. So 2019, we started Full Funnel Freedom Fridays, which was once a month, third Friday of the month. And she's always suggested, like, you got to do a podcast. You got to do a podcast. You got a great voice. You got great energy. She didn't say you have a face for radio, but I just put that in there as well. And so, but just building my business and building my team, I'm like, a podcast takes dedication. It takes focus.
That's right.
Right now I'm focused on supporting my clients, supporting the team, getting to a point where I'm like, I can now put that over there because I've got people running it and I can focus on a podcast. So I got to that point, and my vision originally was to be a pure interview show, celebrate sales leaders, support the audience of sales leaders. And then the woman who I hired to help me launch, her name's Anna Parker Naples. She's out of the UK. She runs a company called Influential Audio. She said, I get that, but you're not Joe Rogan, you're not Guy Raz. Like, no one knows who the hell Hamish Knox is, so why are they going to listen to an interview show with some guy they've never heard of?
Right.
You got to build credibility first. So go solo for the first like 10 to 20 episodes, and then start bringing on guests. So I did that when I launched. The first 3 months episodes were all me. So October 2021 through December 2021. And then first week of January, I had my very first guest.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, so interesting. I don't know if you heard this, but only 1% of podcasts ever make it past episode 20.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so you're
Wow.
already in the top 1% of podcasters just by sticking around.
Cool.
Kind of amazing, but to your point, it takes focus, it takes discipline, it takes dedication. Like there's and 100 episodes is not a small thing, man. Like that's real.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think we're at 105 in the can. So
that's amazing.
And based on what I've got booked right now, I literally could be a guest every single week through the end of December. I wouldn't have to do another solo pod, which is great because now I'm realizing the vision that I had, which was I want to bring on people and celebrate them and their success and support the audience.
What do you like? Why is that interesting to you, Hamish? Because like that's interesting to me too. But what is it about that you find interesting? And by the way, I apologize, but there are jets that are doing passes out here at the lake. It's like one of their things.
That's amazing. I'm living vicariously through you right now because I'm definitely not in that sort of environment. So I'm very much appreciating the nature background.
Cool, man. Cool.
So a couple of things. So Strengths Finder, you might know Strengths Finder. So my top two, I can't remember the order, but they're information and learning. So I just love learning. I love gathering information. I was a journalist from the time I was 16. So I'm just genuinely curious. I just genuinely love to learn about people and their stories and things like that. And so that's on the side of like the guest, and then on the other side, my daily question is, who did I support today? And whether that was a barista at Starbucks because I treated him like a human being, or whether that was one of my daughters or my wife or a client or whatever. And so my belief is that bringing a guest on, someone who, for some of my guests, it's the first time they've ever been on a podcast. It's the first time they've ever been really interviewed. So it's the first time they've ever got to share their story and talk about all the awesome things and the success they've created through others. Yeah. And then on the other side, the audience of sales leaders who are ambitious and driven and have a vision for their future bigger than their present, they can be supported by those stories. So I get great people on and they're like, oh yeah, there's this, and oh yeah, there's that. And someone who's listening is like, never thought of it that way.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. That's super, super interesting. That's your question is, who did I support today? Is that obviously supporting someone is important to you? I wonder if is it important to you because you're looking for that too, like for other people to support you?
So I am actually horrible at asking for help. I grew up on a hobby farm in a village of 500 people. So I have the like do it yourself, bootstraps, like I have all that. But of course, in a farming community, we all do pull together, but we typically don't ask for it, right? There's certain like events or times of year, it's calving season or whatever, where you all pull together. But actually, someone reminded me of the story. It's buried deep in there, and I want to thank Nina Segura for actually helping me pull this story out. Is I was back from college, so I was I was doing a professional writing diploma, technical writing mostly, and I was doing an internship with a software development company in the town next to where I grew up, and 3,000 people instead of 500 people. And my father, who was a public health inspector, booming metropolis of 3,000 people. And my father, who was a public health inspector, he and I are having lunch at this little cafe. And the owner comes out and she says, hey, to my dad. She's like, hey, how's it going? Da, 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 da. And she says, oh, I need to come see you. And my dad says, why? And she says, because I need to get a liquor license because in that town, my dad also did all the licensing.
Okay.
And so he said, okay, where are you going to serve the liquor? And she looked at him, she's like, the hell do you mean, where am I going to serve the liquor? And he said, because the laws in our province or our state are a little bit backwards. If you only get a liquor license, you can only serve booze within 4 enclosed walls. If you want to serve it on the patio, you need to get a European liquor license. And the owner looks at me. So she turns from my dad. She looks at me and she says, he doesn't have to do that. He could have cost me hours of my time and hundreds of dollars because he was checking a box, but instead he actually made the time to help me move my business forward when he doesn't actually have to do that. And when I was my friend Nina, she actually pulled that story out of me. It's like, that's probably the origin story. It was like, I support because I don't have to.
Wow, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
I love.
Thank you.
So that isn't it funny, like how those things work out in life, though?
Totally.
Because it was just such a totally standard, innocuous conversation.
Yep.
That kind of changed the trajectory of what you're doing, and yeah, that's so cool to me, man. Like, what a great
thank you.
What a great story. So
yeah.
So now you're doing sailor training, right? Am I wrong? All right? No?
Oh, I just got you back.
I said now you're doing sailor training, right?
Yeah, so I'm part of the Sandler Network. My 12th anniversary was May 11th of 2023.
Hey, congrats, man.
Yeah, thank you.
What made you go, you know what I want to do? I want to support salespeople because that's it's probably not the least respected job career path in the world, but it's definitely not the most respected.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
And I'm a sales guy, and so like I love and I've done Sandler stuff and I get it. So but why do that path? Why do Sandler? Tell me everything.
Totally. So I've been in sales since I was 19. And I often will say when I'm doing like a speaking engagement, no one says to their child, I want you to be a salesperson when you grow up. Right. And like I have 2 daughters and I've never said salesperson, but I've said entrepreneur, which is code for salesperson. They'll figure that one out later.
Yeah, that's right. That's
right. And so I was working for a company called Canada Newswire, and I was meeting with a couple of my clients who were partners in a PR firm, and they said, we really wish we could do what you do. And I said, well, first of all, define what you think it is that I do before I take that as a positive.
Yeah.
And they said, well, if you want us to call up the business editor at a daily paper and pitch one of our clients, do that all day long. But if you want us to cold call a CEO in town and be like, want some PR, we just don't want to do that at all. So we'd love to be able to learn how to sell. And I'm like, oh, entrepreneur, ding. So I actually started a sales training company off the side of my desk. And actually my incorporated company is Sales For, which meant sales for everyone. Because I really believe that it's about communication. And so whether you are in public relations or you're a direct seller or you're an engineer, my wife's a geophysicist, she sells all the time. And so I had this company off the side of my desk. It wasn't really going anywhere. And I was in Montreal for meetings because Canada Newswire had bought a small company that ran the SaaS platform that I was selling. So we had licensed the technology. They bought the company. We were doing merger meetings in Montreal. And my sales manager, who's thanked in my first book, we randomly decided to have dinner at the same Portuguese restaurant. And so I walked in and I said, table for one. And they said, go sit at the bar, loser, or something in French. And I see him and he's waving at me. And so I sit down and he's worked for IBM and Xerox and a bunch of other companies. And as I'm talking to him, he stops me and goes, have you ever heard of Sandler? And I'm like, no. And he goes, it's really how you think and talk and act. And I said, thanks, I think. And then that night I couldn't sleep. and I Googled, and I found an article by my colleague Bill Bartlett, and it was like I walked into a church and God spoke to me.
Wow.
And
Really?
it was like, I was like, how do I do this? So bottom left corner, it said contact us. So I filled in the form. And then, because I have this background in PR and marketing and journalism, I Googled every version of Sandler sucks, Sandler doesn't work, Sandler is terrible, Sandler is like literally every synonym for this is bad. And I found one item on page 8 of Google, along with a lot of bodies, because that's a great place to hide a body, as I hear. And it was a message board. Someone said, I went to a Sandler workshop 3 years ago, and the facilitator used a word I didn't like. And by the way, it wasn't anything racist or sexist or homophobic. It was just like they didn't like the turn of phrase. I'm like, well, no one's going to like every turn of phrase. So like, right. So what?
Yeah.
So my wife gave up a trip to Las Vegas over Canadian Thanksgiving in 2010. We went to Baltimore in November of 2010 for Discovery Day, or So You Want to Be a Sandler Trainer. Signed the papers January 1 of 2011 because I thought it was symbolic. And the day I landed in Baltimore for my initial training was the day that bin Laden was killed.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, man.
Yeah. There's the story.
You had like this spiritual experience. I love that. That's beautiful.
I did. Yeah.
By the way, this is a side note. It's totally tangential, but Canadian Thanksgiving, when it falls on the calendar, far superior to U.S. Thanksgiving timeline. Yeah. Oh, well, dude, here's what happens. You work with a lot of people in the States. Thanksgiving happens in the U.S., and you've got like 4 weeks before Christmas. So everybody just shuts down. It's like the business calendar year is done from like Tuesday of Thanksgiving week through January 1. And it's just done, man. And it's crazy. And you feel like it's also one of those things too, dude, for like travel. You're like, okay, so we're going to go see my parents, and then we're going to go see my in-laws. It happens back to back. And so there's no breather. I digress. But I feel that way every time, man. I'm just like, why aren't we doing what the Canadians are doing? This is silly. This is such a silly
I tease the Americans of my master group that we're always winning because we get our May long weekend before y'all. We get our Thanksgiving before y'all. It's just like, come to Canada, guys. We get it first.
Yeah, man. It's it's crazy to me. Okay, so you decide you fall in love with Sandler.
Yeah.
And there are things that I really love about Sandler. There are things that I don't love about Sandler.
Me too.
But and so I'm curious, and this is so niche because it's like, okay, we're talking about a sales training program.
Totally.
I'm going to give my perspective on it before you dive into it, Hamish, because I think it may be more relatable to some of the listeners. Like, I think about Sandler, and I immediately go, okay, where it's really helpful is it gives people a formula, a way of thinking about having a conversation in sales. And most people, when they approach a sales conversation, they have no clue. They just don't, man. I mean, it was interesting. I was recording a podcast earlier today and talking to this brilliant, really smart agency owner. He's in Ukraine, and the way that they're doing their sales conversations, they're having trouble closing more deals. And I asked him to take me through the sales process. And again, brilliant guy. He closes at a very high rate because he's got that owner juice. I mean, you know what that is. And so now he's built out a sales team, and they're having a hard time. And as he started to go into it, they have 100 calls a week for 9 salespeople, which I think is great. Like, I think that's a very solid number for nine staff members. But their close rate's abysmal. And so as he was talking, I just went, dude, when does the prospect ever talk to you? And because he was like, they show up and we start going through a deck. And I'm like, what do you mean you're going
Yep.
through a deck? And he started explaining. I was like, yeah, this is the problem with SaaS companies. I see this a lot in SaaS. I
Mm-hmm.
see it with agencies too. They're like, here's all about
Mm-hmm.
us. And I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
listen, man, I love you. I believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
You're so good at what, I mean, like I could tell from his website and talk
Mm-hmm.
to him. I'm like, God, you're brilliant. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, you have to realize, and I was like, there's some good info from gong.io that the top sales guys talk 54% of the time, which
Mm-hmm.
means that the prospect is talking the other 46% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it blew his mind. I mean, and like I felt bad because I went, crap, man, here's this guy who's doing a really good job providing a beautiful service. He's got all these people on his staff in a really tough,
Mm-hmm.
war-torn country, and he
Mm-hmm.
just hasn't been given the information he needs to really crush it. And so I started giving
Totally.
him, we take a consultative approach to selling for all the
Mm-hmm.
companies. And I started giving that to him, and he was like, this is amazing. Like, this is so
Mm-hmm.
different from what we're doing. I was like, yeah, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, when I think about Sandler, it's like there's a good formula to it. It gives you a cadence, and that's
Mm-hmm.
really cool. And they
Mm-hmm.
also teach you, one of the things that I got best was getting the close again. So you get the verbal
Mm-hmm.
close, and then you go, okay, so, sometimes, Hamish, what ends up happening is I have this great conversation with somebody, they say yes, and then in a few days they come back to me, I send them the agreement, they come back to me, they go, hey, yeah, we're not going to do it. And I'm assuming that you're not that kind of person, right? And so, like, it's just getting another close, cementing that we're going to be working together. And I love the submarine analogy and that kind of compartments and stuff like that, which is great. I really appreciate that it gives that kind of framework. The thing that I don't love sometimes is that at some points it feels like you're not having an authentic conversation with somebody that's a Sandler trained salesperson. I know because
Yes.
I know the sequence when someone's Sandler trained or not.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I just go, hey man, time out.
Yeah.
Loving the conversation. Really enjoy you. Want to hear more about it. Don't Sandler me. And they laugh. And I go, or so, I've had a couple guys get upset. I go, listen, this is not me being.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at you. We're
No.
cool. And I'm like,
Yeah.
just talk to me like a person,
Yeah.
because I'm a guy that just wants to be talked to, and I don't want to have a formula. And then it's really interesting, man. And now this has nothing to do with your training because they're not your guys,
No.
but
I get it.
but they get tripped up and they don't know what to do, and they're like, crap, now what? And I'm like, just talk to me, man. Like, help me understand. And so anyways, that's my layman's description of Sandler, which was absolutely terrible.
Love it.
But
No, it was brilliant.
oh, that was sweet. But what do you love about it? And then I'm interested in what you tweak to fit your personality when you're training people.
100%. And I love the example you gave about the agency owner you're talking about, because as we say in our training, it'd be kind of like me walking up and going, hi, David, nice to meet you. Let me talk about myself for 45 minutes. Then I'm going to ask you out on a date.
Yeah.
Like,
it's weird.
What? That doesn't work. So a couple of things I love about it is, so I'm obviously a very direct communicator. I've learned how to solve since having children. But it's away all the nonsense that usually exists between two human beings, and it's about getting to the truth. And I the truth is a very loaded word these days. But really it's about, like, let's just speak plainly to each other. So I resonate exactly with what you're talking about, and what we tell our clients is Sandler's a conversational model. And if you walk out of any one of our sessions and you sound like you just went to a sales training class and you've got a shiny new toy to try out, you are doing it wrong. It should be completely invisible to the buyer or to the person you're talking to, whether it's your spouse or a buyer or your buddy or a colleague or whatever. It should be completely invisible. Now, we also tell our clients, because we have clients who meet in our sessions and then they business together. Right. And they'll say, hey, I'm going to go have a conversation with David. And I'll say, you don't do it to family. You both know it, right? We're family here. You don't do it to family. Right. So he knows what it is. You know what it is. you sit down and you actually have a conversation instead of following the formula, because you both know what you're doing.
Right.
So he's going to speak plain, you're going to speak plain. It'll probably be the easiest sales conversation you ever have. And if it doesn't work out, you'll both leave feeling good about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I love is it's about having more effective human to human interactions. I actually had a client years ago. They're the head of a marketing agency. And this was in the before times when we were actually meeting in person. And they came in for a session one time and I said, hey, how's it going? You know, what's good in your world? And they said, I can talk to my 13-year-old son now. And I said, I need way more information. Could you please clue me in on what you're talking about? And they said, well, they're a 13-year-old boy. And I said, I was one once, I recall. And they said, yeah, they communicate in grunts and monosyllables. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. That's what I did as a 13-year-old. And they said, well, using the tools that you have theoretically taught me to grow and scale my business, add better people to my team, prospect, qualify, expand my relationships with clients, I've learned that my son has all these hopes and fears and dreams that I never knew about. And all I want to do is take away their fears and help them get to realize all their dreams. And I said, so this is a good thing? And they're like, I never thought I would get that from a quote unquote sales training program.
Yeah. Oh,
so
I love that.
That's what I love. That's what I love. It's the human to human stuff, right?
Yes.
It's about more effective human to human interactions. What I tell my clients and what I adapt in the training is, it's about hitting mountaintops. So Sandler, what I tell my prospects is 3 outcomes. Outcome 1 is a common language for sales across the organization, like you talked about. And then the ultimate outcome is a business they could sell for their number, not the number they're told to take, and get a check on closing instead of getting an earnout. And so it's about mountaintops. So the way that you're going to hit a mountaintop and the way that I'm going to hit a mountaintop are very different because we communicate differently.
Sure.
But it's how do you hit that mountaintop? And so when I'm in a session, what I'll share with my clients is, if I tell you to say this or do this, and your gut reaction is, oh, that's never going to come out of my mouth, that makes me feel gross inside. Yeah. It's my job as a facilitator, because I believe I'm a facilitator. My clients are the heroes, not me.
That's right.
Is to give you something that is going to actually work in your world. And where I find trainers of all types, because I did all the sales training, but I didn't know about Sandler, but I've done lots of sales training, is they show up as sage on the stage, largely gray-haired white males, but sage on the stage, and they're like, look at how awesome I am. I want to be invisible. I frankly don't believe I'm the smartest person in the room when I'm training my clients. They come up with things that I couldn't come up with in a million years. And the learning comes from their lived experiences. And it's beautiful to see a client who maybe have been resistant. Like when I say, hey, we're going to talk about like how to work with procurement. And they're like, I will never talk to procurement. I'm like, okay, totally cool. Can we set that aside for a second and maybe hear something that works? And by the end of the session, they're like, the scales have fallen off my eyes and I can see. I was like, well, I didn't beat you there. You came to that conclusion yourself.
Right.
And that's what I love.
Right.
So I don't know if I directly answered your question, but that's a bit of a summary of what I love and what I like to change. The biggest thing being, I believe our clients are the smartest people in the room, and they've got great experience that if we can facilitate it and let it come out, the whole group gets better and we elevate ourselves.
I love it, man. I love it. So that's so fascinating to me because we talk about creating a sales roadmap instead of a sales script.
Yes. Amen.
And I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, you may have a prospect. You're in a meeting and they want to take the scenic route to get to the destination. Cool, man. Take the scenic route all you want. But it's really interesting. One of the things that I tell people all the time, Hamish, I'm like, look, lean into who you are. But that means you have to understand who you are.
Totally.
And I'm curious, but like I've found that that's kind of the thing that really is the sticking point for a lot of the salespeople that work for me, is they're like that self-realization of who they are and how they're presenting. You know, so like for me, I know that I did this today. I had to my sales team was booked, and
Mhm.
they we have people out on vacation, we have people that are going to dentist appointments, whatever. So I got
Mhm.
this sales call today. I haven't taken a sales call in a minute. It's been a while. I showed up like this. You know, I'm wearing a long sleeve t-shirt and I'm talking with this woman. But the thing that I know that I do is I immediately connect with the person on the other side of the line.
Mhm.
That's the thing. And I really, there's some people that you connect with more than others. And this woman I just
Mhm.
really connected with. And I was like, oh,
Cool.
we're going to be friends. And so one of my favorite things to say, and I mean it in this particular circumstance, and I've meant it in other times, I'm like, look, if we don't work together, I don't care as long as we can be friends. And she was just like, yeah. And that connection,
Mhm.
that's what I love about doing sales for me, is that I'm
Mhm.
like, I love that real genuine spark of I'm a real person, you're a real person, we're really
Mhm.
engaging. And we talked about all sorts of other things that had nothing to do with the product
Mhm.
that I was selling or that the
Mhm.
business that she was running. It was just her personality. And I just told her, I was like, look, I just love your energy. I love your passion. I love your drive. I
Yeah.
love what you're about. I love the things you're talking about, why you do what you
Yeah.
do. And that's fun.
Yeah.
But I think that
Yeah.
she's going to say yes just because we had a great connection, and I know that that's my
Mhm.
gift. And then there are other people like my head of sales for one of the companies. His He is self-aware, and he knows that his thing is he's really about like he wants to have a sales roadmap that also has
Mhm.
specific points that he wants to hit, almost
Mhm.
as if he's given a talk, and he's okay hitting
Mhm.
them later or sooner or whatever. But he's
Mhm.
like, I want a process that I can follow, repeat, and rinse,
Mhm.
and do it exactly the same because that's his personality,
Mhm.
and I love that, man.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of process because process is scalable, right? Like
Right.
the founder-led sales or owner-led sales not necessarily scalable, but you know what? Some people don't want to scale. Some people just
Right.
want to, do what they do. And so that's the other thing that I know I learned early on is because I'm very passionate about what I do. I mean, I love genuinely love learning about people, supporting my clients, et cetera, et cetera. But I know early on, because when you first start your business, and I wonder if this is the case for you, you got the fire, right? You're just passionate about what you do. And I know I scared a bunch of people away because I'm like, double sales, triple sales. And I could just see in their eyes like, I just want to have a lifestyle business.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to sell a little bit better. And so I've adapted my language over time. And I'm saying I work with companies who are here and they want to get to here and they're going to get most of that way because they're awesome. They're humble enough to say, I bet I could be more awesome with someone else supporting me. And maybe I'm that guy, maybe I'm not, I don't know. But it's that human to human stuff, Dave. That's the real key. And
Mhm.
sellers make the mistake where they're like, well, I am a salesperson and Dave is my prospect, and therefore I must do this. And it's like, no, Dave's a human being and you're a human being. Have a human to human conversation. If it's not a good fit, no now doesn't mean no forever. And if you think it might be a good fit, unless you happen to be in a one call closed business, you're probably going to talk again. So as
Yeah.
long as you get that next conversation in your calendars before you wrap up, so it doesn't happen like, I talked to Dave 6 months ago and he said he was interested, but I don't know what happened to him. As long as you keep the ball moving forward, following the buyer, create buyer safety, then you are going to be in a really good place. But too many sellers do themselves a disservice because they're not self-aware to your point, and they think they have to play this role of expert seller, which is complete nonsense.
Yeah, why is that? Why do we think that we have to play the role of expert seller when in reality it's not the case? But where do we get that idea?
Usually from the people who've come before us. That's
Okay.
the issue. Is like there is no University of Sales. There's no Bachelor of Sales degree.
Right.
We're really learning from the people who come before us, or maybe we've read a book or we watch a YouTube video or whatever. But typically we're creatures of our comfort zone. So initially we're a little bit nervous and we go out and we're just like, hey, Dave, I don't know anything about your agency. Tell me more about that. And then so you're like, oh, well, tell. And then eventually I think I get smart. And that's when we get dangerous, because then I go in and I go, hey, Dave, I've been working with agencies for many, many years. And an agency like yours probably needs this and this and this and this and this. And there's like some version of up yours, but usually it doesn't go over very well.
Yeah.
And then the sellers who actually get into that top tier, they take all of that knowledge that they've gathered and they start turning it into really specific, really focused questions. And what I have found is when I can get a buyer to say, that's a really great question, or I've never thought of it that way until you asked me, that's when my credibility goes way up.
Yeah. We want to buy things from people we know, like, and trust.
Amen.
You know, and it's
Amen.
like, you're the like part. It's like, well, 20% of people that I talk to aren't going to like me. Not because I did anything wrong. We're just not going to be simpatico when it comes to personalities. Okay, fine. So I can do the know and trust pretty quickly. So how can I share something fun, interesting? You know, part of my sales approach is to be in an interesting spot, you know, and people go, whoa, where are you? You know, where are you calling from?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really beautiful. Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. And that works. Because then I get to share, oh yeah, this is where I'm at. This is what I do. This is why I'm talking to you today. And then the trust piece, to your point, it's like, yeah, well, let me just help you. I love to give free advice on a sales call. Like, it's one of my favorite things. I'm like, hey, if we work together or not, here's just the thought. And they go, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. And that encourages them to actually engage in conversation, right? Conversation. The number you put out about 50% of the time, like, I aim for 50-50. I think if I can be speaking 50% and my buyers speaking 50%, that's like having a conversation. And something else that I share with my clients is, think about when you go out to with your buddies, right? Bar, coffee shop, hanging out at your house, whatever.
Sure.
You don't say, you don't go through a list of questions. You don't go through a bunch of cheesy lines. You let the conversation flow and eddy and circle back. And then eventually it gets to a point. And even if you're having a tough conversation because your buddy's going through something personally or something professionally, it's not a therapist session. You're their buddy. And there's a key thing I want to share, though, is I believe that rapport is better than relationships for selling. I believe rapport beats relationships every time, because the root of the word rapport is the word trust, and people don't trust salespeople, as we've talked about a few times. And relationships are really critical, but relationships don't happen in an instant or in one job or even in potentially 1 year. And I believe that when a buyer gives us business, whether it's the first time or the 50th time, what they are saying in code words is, I trust you to solve my problem for me.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, as much as I'm using an analogy about talking to a friend, it's still, we're in sales, and the buyer knows that we're a salesperson. And so if we ever cross that line and start going into like, well, hey buddy, I'll give you a discount because it's you, that relationship usually ends badly from the salespeople I've talked to before.
Yeah.
Because they don't keep that in line. So we want to keep maintaining rapport instead of trust, but have a conversation like you've shared already, Dave. Don't follow a script. I believe checklists are better than scripts, but I don't want to hear cheesy lines. I don't want to be like, so Dave, if I could show you a way, or any of that nonsense. Right. I just want to have a human interaction.
Yeah. Ooh. So, shifting gears, you have two daughters.
2 daughters.
Married.
What is our 21st anniversary
this year? Hey, well done, brother. Well done. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's my wife, we're going to celebrate 15 this year. So I know.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. You know, it's a rare club now. If you make it if you make it a decade, then you're in a unique club. If you make it 2, it's like, dang, you guys are crushing it. So
yeah.
you're running the Sandler business, and you're being
Mm-hmm.
dad, and you're being
Mm-hmm.
husband. Tell
Mm-hmm.
me a little bit about how you find balance in doing all the things that you do,
Yeah.
but still spending time with the three ladies in your life that are very
Yeah.
significant and important to you.
Absolutely. I heard an organizational psychologist talk once about they were talking about millennials specifically, but I like this phrase as he said, millennials are looking for work-life integration, not work-life balance.
That's right.
And I love that phrase because I have this talk track around the gift of time. So you and I have had this experience where you've got a call scheduled with a prospect at 2 o'clock and at 1:55 declined. Sorry, Dave, something came up, man. And you now have this window that was booked that is no longer booked. And I consider that a gift because
Mm,
now I can shift and be like, hey, you know what? I haven't done yoga today, or I haven't meditated today, or I haven't practiced the language I'm learning today. I'm going to take this gift of time and I'm going to go do
mm,
that. Or I'm going to take the gift of time and I'm going to make a couple of prospecting calls because I've got some prospecting calls I need to do before the end of the day. So I'm very committed. I'm up early. I'm out of I take my wife to work and pick her up every day. So we get this nice quiet time, just the two of us every morning and every evening, which is really, really lovely. And I'm very committed to my family because I believe that you don't get those moments back, right? That 0 to 18 or a little bit after that, you don't get
mhm.
them back. So I don't, my clients know, don't call me after 4 o'clock because I pick up my wife at 4. So don't call me after 4 p.m. And yeah, you know what? If you send me a text message, maybe I'm going to answer it after my daughters are in bed very quickly, but probably not going to answer it until tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And I also take every Saturday, I turn everything off. No phone,
Mm,
no internet, no business media, social media. And I'm just very intentional. Actually, one of my clients last week said, I love speaking to you because you live your life intentionally.
mm,
And it's really inspiring to
oof.
that. And so um I don't do a lot of networking events in the evening. There is the occasional one if I get, 3 to 6 weeks notice, I'll be like, okay, I can set it up. So I do this because my daughters are used to me and my wife being at the dinner table and being there when they go to bed.
Yeah.
And to me, that is the most critical thing. And on the weekends, we're there when they wake up. And I feel that's really, really, really critical. And yeah, has my golf game suffered? Probably.
Yeah.
Do I maybe not see as many of my friends as I want on a regular basis because they're not available for breakfast and I'm not available for after work beers? Yeah, but I really believe that I'm setting up a great long-term relationship with my two daughters, and of course with a long-term relationship with my wife. And to me, that's really, really, really critical.
Beautiful. I love that. I,
Thank you.
you know, I love so much. I loved everything about what you just said, but just some things that I want to pluck out, man. Like, uh, the bit about the client saying, "I love that you live your life so intentionally." That's
Hmm.
so rare. That's so unique
Yeah.
to have a client
Hmm.
say that to you. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, man, that's beautiful. Like that's really, really beautiful. Um, when you go about setting your life that way
Hmm.
and you're having to keep and hold those boundaries.
Hmm.
Have you ever like fired a client because they just didn't get it?
No, because I didn't ever take them on to begin with.
There you go.
Because I'm very like I'm obviously a very direct communicator. I'm very upfront. Like, hey Dave, looking forward to working with you. May I share
Yeah.
what the boundaries are? I take two
Yeah.
Fridays off every month, turn everything off. When I'm on holiday, I legitimately on a holiday, I turn everything off. My team holds me accountable, and I'm not literally laying this out at the first 5 minutes that we're meeting. But as we are exploring working together, I'm going to get a sense of like, do you think I'm at your beck and call?
Right.
Because I don't do exclusivity.
Right.
And I have lots of clients and someone who is like, I expect you to answer my texts in 15 minutes and this and that. I also don't really attract those type of people, which is
Sure.
really nice. So I don't have to have that conversation very often. But I actually have clients who actually have one client this year who started their business, I want to say somewhere around 15 years ago. They're taking their first fully disconnected holiday right now, spending 5 weeks in Europe, phones totally off, everything's in the hands of their team. And it was something that they said, I learned from working with me. And
Wow.
I've actually sent them a couple of emails, just like updating some meetings that occurred when they were on their holidays. I've got zero response, and I'm so happy about it.
Isn't that that's what a gift, man. What a gift.
Yeah,
What a gift.
yeah,
I love it. I love it.
yeah.
All right, Hamish. Uh, so you love to support people. You've got all these beautiful
Mm-hmm.
boundaries so you can spend time with the people that you love most. When you think
Mm-hmm.
about humanity as a whole, and we're doing this crazy thing called life on a blue
Yeah.
spinning rock in the middle of nothingness, what are we
Mm-hmm.
up to as humanity here, man? What do you believe about the reason for existing? Just kind of
Yeah.
give me your thoughts around what we're up to and why we're here.
Yeah, I believe that humans are wonderfully inspiring and horribly disappointing, usually at the same time. And I say that with all the love I have in the heart. I tell our clients regularly, especially the leaders that we work with, I believe everyone's a wonderful human being. They may be a bad fit for the role that they're in.
There you
So
go. There
you have
you
a
go.
team member, they're a wonderful human being, but they're not really good as a project manager.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they're worth anything less as a human being. And so what I really believe is we are becoming very tribal, for lack of a better term. And I know tribal is a very charged word, but really we're starting to really split. And we're starting to draw very hard boundaries, and we're starting to not listen. And we're just saying, well, you use this word, or you wear this type of clothing, or you wear your hair like this, or you have this background, or whatever it might be. Ergo, I'm going to completely shut my ears off when you open your mouth.
Yeah.
And the other part of it is we do a lot of text-based communication, and text is a horrible way to communicate nuance. It's a horrible way to communicate subtlety. Um, I once told a client, you can increase your communications effectiveness 93% simply by going voice to voice, much less face to face. And so it would be wonderful um, if we took a pause on what was the person in front of our face and actually opened up our ears and started actually hearing what was coming out of their mouth, and then asking a question to clarify instead of making up a story right away and spitting back a response that's got a barbed edge on it.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it, man. Um, Hamish,
Thank
it's
you.
been such a delight, brother. And I know that you and I hit it off on your podcast, and we're
Yeah.
just kind of like we're fans of each other, and so this was an
Yes.
easy win. Um, I would love it, man, if people want to engage with you, your content, what you're up to with
Yeah,
Sandler. What's a good way for them
absolutely.
to engage with you?
So there are not many Hamish Knoxes, especially in North America. So I'm actually the only one on Amazon right now. I just checked it a few months ago.
Wow.
I'm only the only Hamish Knox on Amazon. So I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. If you want to look, check out the Sandler stuff, www.hamish.sandler.com/how to Sandler, and that's TO, not the number two. So hamish.sandler.com/how to Sandler, give you a bunch of details on why you might want to talk to us, some results of some of the work with our clients, and then you can click and book a 15-minute call with me right from that page.
I love it, man. Well, Hamish, thank you so much again for being on the podcast, brother, and
Yeah.
excited to stay in touch and keep chatting.
Yeah, me as well, Dave. This was a lovely visit, and looking forward to connecting with you offline again.